I'm the kind of person who's either all in or all out. And I had so many people be like, oh, well, don't you have VAs running it? Like, why can't you just run it on the side? I'm like, it's not that easy, right? If I have to talk about, what to say to a wholesale supplier one more time, my head's going to explode. It's the only business that I know of where you can do everything right and still and still lose everything.
Think about like a drug dealer. Okay, would you deal like or something for 5%, 8% ROI, 12% ROI, and the risk is you go to jail?
Well, the funny thing is it will inspire people who are winners and it will piss off people who are losers.
Dude, my biggest hater here was like really my biggest believer.
I think one of those biggest guys who did that ended up launching a Discord. Be like, oh, this will be different versus blah, blah, blah.
That's so funny. I remember that too.
Everyone at it's just like, but mine, it's different. What is, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Side Hustle Experiment podcast. Today we have Corey Ganim back on the show. He sold over $16 million on Amazon and recently just walked away from his whole wholesale business, all the coaching, everything. We're going to get into that, why he did that, and what he's going to be up to next, and just shoot the shit a little bit. Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, looking forward to it. No, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, dude, me and you are the two big quitters that did the big, but now we both get to be on the same pod. So
yeah, definitely.
First, I want to know your thoughts on everything of like why you decided to make the decision. Let's say nobody's watched your YouTube video because I watched a little bit of it, but I didn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah, so I mean the simple version is bottom line, I'm just not passionate about the business anymore. I'm bored with it. It's taught me all the soft skills of business, right? So I'm super grateful for the opportunity, but at this point there's other things I'm more interested in, and there's other things that I'm choosing to focus my time and money on. It's that simple. And I'm the kind of person who's either all in or all out. And I had so many people be like, oh, well, don't you have VAs running it? Like, why can't you just run it on the side? I'm like, it's not that easy, right? Like there's mental bandwidth that's the bigger factor than the actual time required. And I just don't want to have any of that. I don't want to deal with it.
Dude, you're preaching to the choir. That's exactly what everybody told me. They're like, well, why don't you just keep it, make a few grand a month? And I'm like,
yeah,
I'm sure I
it's
could
not
do that
easy, right?
Yeah, it's not like I wish it was that easy. If it was that easy, I would have done that a long time ago. But
right.
You can't,
so,
yeah. The bigger thing is mental, especially when you're trying to get good at something else. I'm sure we can talk about what you're going to do next. You have to it takes you years to get good again. So right. you kind of have to put all your time in there, or you're just going to be waiting 5 years before you can even get good at anything else. You can't. Some people can make that work, but I'm not a big believer it's as easy as people think it is when they haven't tried to do it.
No, you're spot on. And it's funny because that, like what you're saying is the mature entrepreneur reaction. It's like, oh, makes sense. Like when you split your focus, you actually make less money. So I feel like a lot of the junk I was getting from people is like, well, why don't you just keep doing it? Right. And it's like, well, because I've learned enough from selling on Amazon over the last 8 years to know that I can only do one thing at a time. Right. Like it's that simple. So yeah, it's a matter of focus at the end of the day.
Yeah, me and John were talking about it. There was somebody that mentioned the Q4 thing. Like they were like, well, it must not be good if you're quitting in Q4. And like, yeah, the initial reaction to that, okay, from like an outsider would be, well, yeah, it must not be good. Like, cause that's where he could have made the most money. And it's like, well, dude, that's like such a retarded way to view that. It's also where he's going to spend the most money. And if he has reasons for quitting, like, you obviously looked at the reward and thought, okay, well, the money I'm going to spend is not going to be worth this reward. And the headaches, like you're going to have inventory carryover, your account gets suspended. I'm sure that was one of the reasons and stuff. It's like, I don't know. It's like people don't even think through it. They just like see it and I guess they want to just hate, but I don't know. I understood the decision, especially I quit right before Q4 too. I didn't mention it till months after, but I did the same exact thing you did because I didn't want to risk anything going into Q4.
And to be honest, the fact that it's Q4 was an absolute non-factor in my decision. Like did not cross my mind in the slightest because again, it was more of a focus thing. It's like, okay, I could wait it out through the end of Q4 and dump another $100, $200, $300,000 of money that's not mine, of borrowed money into a business that could get shut down at any time to make, okay, maybe 50, 60, 70K, great. But then I'm 4 months behind on what it was that I was going to do next anyway, which long-term is probably going to make me a lot like that 4-month head start is probably going to end up making me a lot more than 50, 60, 70K down the road. So again, to me, it was such an obvious decision. Like the fact that it's Q4 didn't even play into my mindset.
Yeah.
So talk about a little bit like the wind down, like kind of when did you decide? Like did you sell your account? Like kind of how does that work in your head?
Y- Yeah, so I mean, I'd say, I mean, kind of started a year, really, a year and a half ago, maybe at the longest. Not that I started winding down that long ago, or that I decided that I wanted to stop at that point, but about a year and a half ago is when I sat down and I'm like, okay, I'm actually not really that passionate about this business anymore. I've kind of been at the same level of sales for the last like 2+ years. I know what it takes to get to the next level, but am I willing to make that sacrifice in both time and capital? And when I really sat down to answer that question, the honest answer was no. So at that point, it was kind of just going through the motions for the last year or so, coaching people inside the wholesale network, making content, still selling, right? But not growing, like honestly, just shrinking. It was kind of died a slow death. And then it got to the point where I'm like, okay, I really enjoy coaching and I really enjoy making content and teaching people and helping people. But making it on a topic that I'm not passionate about anymore sucks. Like it got to the point where I'd sit down to record a YouTube video and I'd be like, if I have to talk about, what to say to a wholesale supplier one more time, my head's going to explode. But you do it anyways because it's like you got to keep it up. You've got to, I mean, you're just doing it for the money at a certain point. That's exactly what I was doing. And I got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to just do something for the money. Like it's 2025. We live in America. You should be able to do whatever you want. You don't have to do something just for the money. So yeah, that's when I made that decision. And I wrestled with it for a couple of months. I was super torn about it. It was like, am I doing the right thing? Am I not? And now it's no questions asked. Fantastic decision. I know I did the right thing.
Yeah, that's good to think about it like that too. And I mean, from what I've learned, I haven't even been super successful with anything else after Amazon, but just not having that stress and knowing that I'm free for the future and I can like enter opportunities whenever I'd like. I don't have to tie up a bunch of cash, all that
Yep.
stuff. And I was sick of talking about it as well.
Yeah.
It definitely gives you a clear head. I got
Yep.
like immediately happy afterwards. So yeah, that's really good.
I went from like kind of sad to like super depressed for a couple weeks to then like super happy. I'm like, wait, this is the best decision I've ever made. And
Yeah,
again, it's a personal one. Like for some people, that wouldn't be a good decision. For me, it was. It just depends on the person.
Yeah, I
and
totally
we're
agree
talking
with
about
you there
go
because
ahead.
like I feel like it's always hard to like 'cause we've all kind of quit and it was just like wow like this is what I've been doing for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. Like all my friends are here. Like this is just weird. Like how do I just walk away from this? And like the coaching too. Like I shut down my school group and I was like just couldn't talk about it anymore. It didn't feel like that was the right thing to do. And I mean a lot of our podcast probably last year was like talking about how like we kind of like lost our identity. It's like
Hmm.
that's what we were. That's what we talked about on social. Like all the guests that came on this podcast, like that's what they did. And it was like trying to like find our way again. And like I think we kind of did, but like it's always hard when like that was your identity, and now it's like time for the next thing.
Yeah, and I think that was the biggest struggle, right? Is that the last 8.5, I mean, it's all I've done, all I've talked about, all I've thought about for the last 8.5 years. And so to a degree, it does become part of your identity. And I think changing your identity is one of the hardest things you can do. I think the easy thing would have been to just suck it up and do the same thing for the next 5 years, but then be no farther ahead, no better, just be in the exact same place. And I just wasn't willing to do that. So another good way to look at it too is, selling on Amazon is still a great opportunity for the right person in the right context. But I personally think there are better opportunities out there in 2025 and beyond. And Alex Hormozy has a great quote where he talks about it's like you've got the level of the entrepreneur and the level of the opportunity vehicle. He's like, if you got a level 10 entrepreneur, but they're participating in a level 2 opportunity vehicle, their ceiling is super low. Like they're not going to go very far, right? And if you've got a level 2 entrepreneur, but they're in a level 10 opportunity vehicle, they're going to crush it, right? They don't even have to be that smart to crush it. So I'm not saying Amazon is like a level 2 opportunity. I don't even know where I would put it on that spectrum. But I think that, again, I think my highest and best use is no longer in this business, to put it simply.
Yeah. Well, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. And you don't have to filter yourself at all. So even if you have to
Yeah.
put it like, I want to hear just your raw thoughts on like, why do you think that? Because what easily you could do too is coach this whole time and just go, okay, well, I can
Hmm.
just not tell anybody Like, and some people do that. I know that you
Yeah.
kind of led your thing with that stuff, but I think that's very wrong as well. I think there's definitely a lot of like lying going on if that's what you're doing. So I'm curious why you must think it's a little worse than maybe most people probably perceive it. And I want to know your thoughts on that. Why is it just worse than other opportunities in general?
Well, to touch on your point about like continuing to coach if you don't do something, so there's nuance to that, right? So selling on Amazon is a business that changes so rapidly. Like we know stuff changes by the week, right? Especially during Q4. That if you're not actively doing the business, you're not going to be able to coach as effectively as someone who is. So I think you'd be doing a disservice to the people that pay you for that advice. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, if you're like an HR coach or like an HR consultant, right? I'm just thinking of an industry that doesn't change that often. Yeah, okay, maybe you don't still need to be employed in an HR position to, accurately consult on that subject, but HR doesn't change very often. Amazon changes every week. So that's kind of why I made that decision. I didn't think, right, you don't have the context. You can't really help people that well. Now, to your point about, can you kind of rephrase your question as far as, were you asking why it's not as good of an opportunity as it was?
Yeah, like why do you think? Obviously, if you can see yourself, okay, there's other opportunities that are better. What's the problem with Amazon, in your opinion, that made you come to this conclusion in that front of like how? Because I just think it went downhill. I'll give my thoughts after. Actually, I don't want to skew your thing at all. But just what are your just raw thoughts on like how the state of Amazon and like what you would recommend to normal people? And these aren't people. Let's say it's not killer on Amazon. Like just a
Mm-hmm.
normal person, maybe they're trying to make it a little bit on there.
Before we get into that, I wanted to let you know I created a totally free guide to get approved for the Amazon Influencer Program, how to scale it up, how I literally went from zero to $50,000 in just Amazon commissions alone. There'll be a link down below. The guide is absolutely free. It's about 33-ish pages, and I have a whole video walking you through the whole guide. So if you want to start making money on the Amazon Influencer Program, definitely click the link below.
So I'll give you like to very concise, like the pretty much the nail in the coffin for me. And what I tell people is it's the only business that I know of where you can do everything right and still get fucked and still lose everything, right? The only one I know of. So when you consider that that's a possibility, not a probability, right? But a possibility, there is that possibility of catastrophic loss at any time that you have zero control over. And that's a fact. When you couple that with the idea that you're spending, in my case, hundreds of thousands of dollars that's borrowed money to fund that business, you are one Amazon account health AI mishap from filing bankruptcy. Like not just losing a bunch of money, not just losing your business, but legitimately filing bankruptcy. And again, I got to the point where I'm like, I can't, with a clean conscience, ask somebody to pay me $6,000 when that is a real risk that they take. Even if I give them every disclosure in the world, it's like we see it happen. It happens, right? And so, I mean, that's like the God's honest truth. I can't with a clean conscience promote that anymore.
Yeah,
It's always
happy.
funny too. A lot of those people are just like, one, they say it never happened to me, and two, there's a lot of people out there. We won't mention names. That are like, oh, it's no big deal. Like we help people beat this all the time. Like you get a lawyer, like, and like that's all good and well. Like I've been sued by a textbook company like for counterfeit books that like I bought on Facebook Marketplace, like, and I was the same. I was like, oh yeah, no big deal, yeah. Until like a lawyer is like, yeah, we're gonna sue you for copyright infringement, and like,
Right.
luckily my girlfriend's a lawyer, and like she was able to be like, yeah, that's not. But like, if I didn't have that, like, I would have had
You
to
probably
hire
would have had to pay some
someone.
settlement or
I'm
something.
selling books. It's not like I'm making a ton of money. And it's just
Right.
like this whole like I agree with you, like taking money and being like, oh yeah, this is still a great opportunity. Like we could help you, like whatever happens. It's just like in my kind of mean, it's kind of a cop out because a lot of those people that are saying that shit too aren't even selling. They're just coaching. So it's kind of like, all right, dude, like, yeah, hypothetically, but like, I agree with you on the other hand, too. We always talk about this here. Like, it's a double spin. It's like, I'm giving you 6 grand. You're telling me to not only give you six, but spend like 20, 25 on that 20, 25. Maybe I'm making what, 5 grand? I already
Right.
paid you six, and I can't take any money out. And I think that's where a lot of people like are just like, don't understand.
Right. And I still think, I mean, again, for the right person in the right situation, it's still a great business. Like if your goal is to break into e-commerce and you want to be in e-commerce, right? I think it's a great place to start. Really specifically online arbitrage. Like I think there's nothing wrong with starting selling on Amazon, doing online arbitrage for 6 months or a year, or even longer, and then transitioning that into a business model with more leverage or that has more enterprise value, whether it's launching your own brand or, I mean, really just launching your own brand, right? I think wholesale is great if you're doing the brand direct, get exclusive deals on paper model. But even then, there's a lot of moving parts to that. It's not beginner friendly. You're talking about, I mean, there's so many moving parts to that business that, again, the only type of person that should be entertaining that model is someone who's already experienced. And the nature of, people that get into Amazon, it's a lot of newer people because it's pitched as something that's more approachable. And it is if you're doing arbitrage, but not so much if you're doing like brand direct, agency style, wholesale arbitrage.
I think another tough part about it is the ROI. A lot of people start this because they hear the claim of like 30% or 40% ROI compounded, like compare it to the stock market. I know that's like a big marketing claim and it does sound awesome. But the reality is maybe you get 20, 30% over a year, but at the same time, it could get wiped to zero. Right. It's like, dude, that's like think about like a drug dealer. Okay. Would you deal like weed or coke or something for 5%, 8% ROI, 12% ROI, and the risk is you go to jail, which is like kind of the same thing. Like obviously there's more likely to go to jail, but that's kind of what I think about. It's like your ROI isn't justified. If you return 100% ROI on your cash every month or 50% ROI, something crazy like that on your cash, and then you could get shut down, it's a little bit different. Right. But when you're so low ROI, if you get wiped out, you can get a year of profit wiped out, 2 years of profit wiped out. Other businesses, it's not really like that. You're running ads or you're doing organic stuff. It's just not the same thing.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think it's either Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger that has a great quote about, if you can just avoid catastrophic risk, like if you can just avoid losing everything, that's like your biggest concern as a business owner is just eliminating catastrophic risk at all costs. And I mean, again, I'm not to sugarcoat things, but there is that catastrophic risk when it comes to selling on Amazon. Even if you're doing everything by the book, you still have that 1% or that 2% chance of losing everything, right? Or at the very least, running into a massive inconvenience that may or may not lose you a whole year's worth of profit, right? There's just so many negative scenarios, and the upside is there, right? If everything goes perfect, which never happens.
Yeah, exactly. I've lost so much money on Amazon. It's crazy. Like looking back at it, I've made like over $1 million profit across all the things I've done. I was thinking about this the other day, but how much money I lost reselling stuff is ridiculous. I definitely lost like over 250 grand. Just like, okay, this inventory just got lost. I sold a computer for $3,000. Somebody scammed me. I lost $1,800. Like random stuff like that. And when that like is a long time period, it's like, whoa, that's a lot of money. Like I'm losing more money than most people will ever make in like a 5-year period.
Right.
That's brutal.
What was frustrating to me, and this happens so many times, is we'd be selling a product, right? And it would be crushing it. And we'd be selling it for a long time, like months, or in the specific product I'm thinking of, we sold for like 3 or 4 years. Our best product by far. We're buying, $30,000, $40,000 worth every 45 days just to keep it in stock. It was a higher ticket product. And then one day out of the blue, we had just literally the day before paid 40 grand for our next PO. We get gated on the brand, gated on the ASIN, no opportunity to apply, already paid for it, wire had already been sent. So now we have $40,000 worth of product that we've got to do something with. Like, okay, we could liquidate it on eBay or somewhere else, but you end up losing like what would have been 8 or 9 months, sometimes even a full year's worth of profit because of one thing that is out of your control, right? At least on that one product. So that to me, where after a while, I'm just like, I can't keep doing this. It's not, you can't run a good business with this level of unpredictability.
Yeah. Well, what's next?
Before we get into what's next, can I just have one more thing on this? What made you decide to go over your like P&L? Like I thought the comments were super fascinating on YouTube. A lot of people, not a lot of people like, thanks for sharing. Other people are like, I thought you made way more money. And I think that's like the huge gap and like the whole problem in the industry where it's like you see one thing and then like obviously no one shows you the other side. And
Right.
a lot of the people who comment, it's like, well, you never showed your P&L, so we don't even know what the hell you're up to. So like,
Right.
I don't know how you could take shots.
Yeah, no, and I mean, so actually Grant suggested I do that, so shout out to him. And I've done I've done P&L breakdown videos before, but of course, those are going to be during my best months. I'm a marketer. I'm not going to if I'm going to show you my P&L, it's not going to be in a month that I lost money. Like that wouldn't make any sense. So again, I think people saw those earlier videos and are like, "Oh, wow, he's crushing it, like 12, 15% net margin or whatever." But of course, that's just a snapshot of a single month. So the reason I wanted to show like the lifetime P&L is like, okay, one, it's just radically transparent, which I'm a big fan of. And when I sat down and talked to myself, I'm like, of course I'm going to get shit from people on this, but if I lay out the whole lifetime P&L, lay everything out there, the only, like literally the only thing somebody can say is, oh, your margin's low. Like there's nothing else they can say. It's like, well, okay, I've made almost $1 million in this business. I've stayed alive for 8.5 years, which is more than most people can say. Okay, I make an industry standard margin, which like 5 to 7% net is literally what people make in this business, but most people don't realize that. So if that's the worst thing that people could say, I'm like, I just don't care. Like I can live with that.
Yeah. Well, what is next? Or maybe you don't have a full plan, but what are your eyes on? What's got you intrigued?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I don't necessarily have like a full plan of like, oh, this is exactly what I'm doing XYZ, but I am leaning in a certain direction. So, I've been starting to learn and talk a lot about AI and, anything from like no code automation tools like Zapier and make.com all the way up to like Claude Code and, just using some of these actual AI tools. And something I've been doing on the side for the last probably 4 or 5 months or so is doing some like one-off AI and automation consulting and implementation, mainly for people in my network who are small business owners who, quite frankly, are boomers that don't even know how to talk to ChatGPT. So when you show them how to like automate something simple with Zapier, they look at you like you just invented fire, right? And they're willing to pay 2, 3, 5. I mean, I sold basically a go high level CRM build out to a friend in my network for 17 grand. And it's not that difficult of a build. So, and I'm not a technical guy, right? I just hire people to actually do the building for me. I'm more just sales and marketing when it comes to like this little side venture. But I'm just going to do more of that. Like there's only going to be a bigger need for this type of stuff. And then when it comes to my content, I think there's a huge gap when it comes to small business owners and AI knowledge. They either they're either too overwhelmed and they don't know where to start, right? They don't have the time to learn it, or they're so afraid of their competitors getting ahead of them when it comes to AI, they just bury their head in the sand and they never do anything. So when it comes to content, like I'm really passionate and something I'm going to start doing more in a more systematic way is just educating small business owners on how to use AI. Like the simplest tips and tricks that are actually useful, right? It's not just theory, but I guess my goal is for somebody who's again a business owner, maybe doesn't know a ton about AI, but they're kind of AI curious, to be able to read one of my posts or listen to one of my podcasts or read a tweet and be like, oh wow, I'm going to use that, right? Like that was useful, and in just a couple, be able to get that in just a couple of seconds. So that's kind of where I'm going as far as content. I'm definitely not stopping that because I really do enjoy making content now.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. It's funny. I laughed when you said that because me and John were just on here 30 minutes and I'm like talking about how hard Zapier and Make are to use because I've never used that before. So I'm
Yeah.
like pretty literate with tech, but dude, I've been trying to like make automations with like WAP and System E and these things. I'm like, dude, I don't even know what I'm going to do. So I might have to ask you some questions if you don't mind after this, but
Yeah.
I'm
No,
struggling
of
with it.
course. And one thing that helps too, I mean, again, I'm not a builder, I'm not a developer. I know enough to get to be dangerous in Zapier and Make at this point, but like I said, I just outsource that to people I know that can actually build it. But one thing that's useful is I'll go into Claude or ChatGPT and just explain to it like, hey, this is what I want to automate. These are the steps. Literally build me the make.com blueprint, right? Or the Zapier blueprint. And then it'll just tell you like, all right, you add this node and then you select this setting and you check this box. And like, then you're just going down a checklist and it takes like 10 minutes. So I'd recommend that for just like have it dumb it down for you. I even tell it, explain this workflow to me like I have no technical skills and like I'm in 10th grade, right? And it's just super easy.
Yeah, I've been using ChatGPT with it, but I usually use Claude. Maybe I should do it for that. I just hate because the token limits on Claude are terrible. So like, you start a big chat, you're like, okay, we'll reply again tomorrow. It's like, dude, I need it done
Yeah.
today. That's like the
Yeah.
most annoying.
Do you not have the pro or the paid version of Claude?
Not, I do $20 a month, not the $200 a month one.
I do the 20 as well. Yeah, I do. I guess, yeah, maybe the pro is the 200, but I do the ChatGPT $20 a month plan, and then same with Claude because I use them both like constantly. So
Yeah, that's what I've
totally
been doing.
worth it.
But when you do like a lot of marketing stuff, and you're trying to get a lot of context docs and things, the Claude runs out like really fast. What I've noticed, maybe I'm not using it correctly and I'm feeding it too much, but I noticed that it cuts me off like all the time. I can't even get through like building ads, building a website stuff before like 11 a.m. before it cuts me off till 2 p.m.
Really?
Almost every day. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, I luckily haven't had that issue, and I've been using it a ton. So yeah, it could just be maybe a lot of the documents you're feeding it on the back end.
Yeah, I think it's too much. But anyways, that's all super technical stuff. That's cool about the AI thing though. The GHL builds. Did you use that for your coaching stuff? Is that how you kind of learn GHL?
Yeah, so we started using that towards the end, but I mean, to be honest, I don't have a ton of experience in it. I had a consultant build it out for the coaching business, but so the friend that I sold that deal to, he runs a barber school, right? The largest barber school in the country, 2-3 million a year in revenue, getting 20 leads per week on their website. And he said by his own estimations, he's losing 800K a year in revenue from not just not following up with these leads, but like literally not responding to them, period. Because he showed me, I actually went to his office and he showed me his workflow. So lead comes into their website's hosted on WordPress. Every day, his admin person has to go into the WordPress backend, copy all the information of the people that filled out a form, paste it into a Google Sheet, and from there, she's got to then copy their phone number from the Google Sheet into a tool called Simple Texting, and then type out a text message to the person, hey, saw you filled out a form, love to have you in for a call or whatever, and then coordinate with them on a time. They don't even use a scheduling link. So 11 a.m., how about noon? How about, right? Like absolute just nightmare. I can't even think of another way to phrase it, right? So again, that process is costing them $800,000 a year. So quoting them on well, hey, we can build you a legit CRM because what you're using right now is not a CRM. We can build you a CRM that has all of your capabilities that you've got spread across 3 to 5 tools in one place, information's in one place, and we can implement some automated follow-up sequences to, take a lot of the workload off of your main salesperson. So again, 17K, his average, if he closes a student for the barber school, he makes 17K, right? So when I priced it out, I said, Tom, I'm going to charge you 17K because if it gets you one new student next year, which I think we can agree it will, then you're going to break even. And when it gets you a lot more than that, you're going to make a lot more money. And so he was like, absolutely sold. Like very easy sell when you quantify it that way. And his pain is so high. He just didn't know what he didn't know. Right. And there's so many business owners out there like that who are running a $3 million a year business, but they're losing 800K a year because they're operating off a Google Sheet. So I'm just looking for more of those to do kind of the same thing.
Man, I feel like an idiot. I just built this all out for John. Me and John built this out last week. I built like a full CRM and stuff. And I'm like, I just felt it like it was basic, but I can't believe there's businesses that are doing multi-millions that like would think that was useful. I probably know a lot more stuff than I think. Like I can build, I didn't even hire for the GHL. I just built the whole thing out myself. And I'm like, I thought that was just kind of normal. I didn't think people didn't know how to do that stuff. But, when we talk about it, it is a bit complex. And you're like, does it work all the way? How to test it? Things like that.
Well, and the thing with him at least is more so it's like he knows, like he's not dumb and he's not technically illiterate. Like he knows things out there like it exists. The issue with him and with millions of business owners like him that are in his same situation is that he's so busy running the largest barber school in the country. The idea of him sitting down to implement a new CRM and add the automations and the tags and the pipeline state, like that would be such a massive waste of his time. Like he's going to make way more money paying me the cost of one student to do it when he can be out there marketing and bringing in leads, basically is what it comes down to. So, and again, like to your point about, I'm shocked how many people out there are that's at that size not using a CRM. Dude, I'd be willing to bet it's the rule as opposed to the exception. Like I think the stat out there is it's like 50% of businesses over $1 million a year. Don't quote me on this. I saw it somewhere, but they're not using a CRM, right? And so there's
Jeez.
so many for just that one productized service of like a, hey, we can build you a go high level instance, right? You could productize that and sell it for 17 grand a pop, and there's probably 500,000 businesses in the country that would be in your buyer pool for that one product, right? If not more.
That's
That's
insane to
really
like
funny.
think about that too. I was actually just talking about this to someone the other day, and I was like, "There's so much technology and so much like out there. Like it blows my mind." My dad used to be in the restaurant industry, and like we go out to eat a lot, and it's just like what restaurants could potentially do just by having like my name, my email.
Yep.
Like it could literally just be like, "Hey," like they could run me and my girlfriend how much we usually spend there. Like,
Yep.
"Hey, we'll buy you a glass of wine tonight," knowing that we're gonna spend $120, cost them what, $5 and a text
Right.
message to me. Like, cause it like occurred to me the other day, cause like sometimes we'll like try to follow the local restaurants and like just like their shit, like help them out or whatever. And it's like if something pops up in the feed, it's like, oh, like you want to go there tonight? And it's just because it popped up in the feed. But like if
Right.
someone sent me a text message like, oh hey, like glass of wine on me tonight or whatever it happens to be, I'd be like, yeah, well, let's go there. Or like this sounds cool or whatever. I don't
Right.
really think it would be that much on their hand. Like they probably have everything if we were in there because they type everything into a POS. But
Mm-hmm.
if they could tag that with me, you'd be like, hey, you weren't here for 2 weeks. Like we want to buy you something tonight. Like if you stop by, I'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
sounds good. Like,
And
but like I
so
don't
much
think
of it.
that's not hard to do.
No, that's the thing is it's not, right? It's just kind of like I was mentioning earlier, the issues that a lot of small business owners have with AI. It doesn't just apply to AI, it applies to technology in general. It's they don't know what they don't know, or they're so overwhelmed that they just don't have time to implement these things, right? Like I bet 95% of restaurants, probably 98% of restaurants are not doing what you just described, John. Yet 100% of restaurants would make more money if they did that. So it's the question is like, why would they not? It's because again, they don't know, or because it's not a priority. And so, I mean, half of what I've been doing, talking about some of these side projects, half of what I've been doing to make a sale is just telling them what's possible. It's like, oh, hey, I notice you're doing this. Well, have you ever heard of that? Or have you ever thought about doing it this way? Like, no, I didn't know that. It's like, oh, okay, well, let me explain, let me teach you, right? And you kind of tell them what to do, and I mean, you know how consulting is. You can tell them what to do all day. They don't want to do it themselves. Like, hey, I'd rather just pay you to do it for me. Okay, great. Right. So, kind of just more, I mean, talking about like coaching and making content, it's kind of those skills put to the test of like, well, can you do a good job of educating somebody on something that they don't know about in a, concise enough manner to keep them interested and, keep them, can you hook them and keep them wanting more? Like, very similar workflow, I guess.
This is probably a really early question to ask this, but where does your brain go in terms of like what you want to do with like this stuff you've been talking about in the future, like agency? I know a lot of people do like school communities where they teach other people how to sell these things, and I know you have experience with running stuff like that. Where does your mind go of what do you do with this knowledge that you have and the belief you have in what you're talking about?
Yeah, so and that's a good question. I'm not going to go like the community or course or like info route, not anytime soon, probably not at least for the next year or two. One, because I mean, I'm still learning this stuff too. Like I probably know more than 95% of people, but I mean, it's not like I haven't been doing this for 8.5 years like I have with Amazon. So for me, it's more of like a consulting slash agency approach of like, hey, let's keep learning this stuff. Let's keep doing these projects. Let's maybe scale the actual service itself. And then, in a year or two, when this is something significant and it's like I do have the expertise and I do have the receipts to show for it, then it's okay, maybe we look at like I'm super bullish on school. Like I think both of you guys have experience with school. I just think it's an awesome platform. And that's probably what I would lean towards if like whenever I go the information slash community route next. To some sort of like lower ticket school, probably.
Yeah. And what about the like agency are doing these services? Do you plan on like actually making an agency and then like, I go to your Twitter bio and you go, hey, you could do this for me? Like, is that the kind of what you want to do or what?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably what it's heading towards, right? I mean, I think a lot of what I'm doing right now is just like working out the kinks
Mhm.
and, getting in with the right people, like the right partners, the right builders. Cause a lot of this too, I mean, I am at a disadvantage in the sense that I'm not technical. I don't know how to code. And so that holds me back. Like I can sell all day, but it's like I've got to have the right technical people, at least on the bench, that, I can call on to do these and do these at a high level. Cause a lot of this too has been referrals. Like, consult a little bit for this guy. He refers his friend, so on and so forth. But you got to do a good job or it doesn't grow. So I'm kind of purposely not like marketing it or talking about it much. I'm just trying to do a really good job for these first few and like really learn. And then to answer your question, yeah, the move eventually is probably like full agency. Like that's kind of like I'm making content about this, but the call to action isn't, hey, join my school community. It's, hey, I could build you something like this, reach out to me, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And do you have any experience with paid traffic or are you all like YouTube? Your
None
plan
at
is,
all. I have zero experience with paid.
yeah, that's the fun part. That's like what I tried to get into after the Amazon, what I'm still into. I mean, every day I'm just on Facebook Ad Manager, but that's pretty fun. It's just a lot different than like organic. It's harder to crack. I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
people think they know a lot about marketing and stuff, and it's like, well, if you can't sell to cold, you don't know like a ton about it. But it's hard, man, because I
Yeah.
mean, getting somebody from like, hey, I'm scrolling my feed to pay you money, just a whole different ballgame than like these YouTube type stuff.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, I think when it comes to paid traffic, I mean, I'm sure I'll, get into that at a certain point. But to me, just like content marketing and organic marketing, I mean, if you're in like hyperscaler mode and you've got a lot of money to throw at ads and like you're really trying to run it up, then it makes sense. But again, kind of like what I just mentioned, like with my situation, I'm probably not going to be at that point anytime soon. And also too, I really enjoy the process of making content. Like I think you can get really good at organic content. Like you can always hire a paid ads guy, like they're a million out there,
Mm.
but you can never hire like a you, right, to make to write to make organic content. Like sure, you could have a ghostwriter or whatever, but I just think that that's also like a really good place to invest and somewhere I want to spend a lot of my time.
Yeah, and you don't need a lot of if you're selling stuff that's big, like these big GHL builds and things like that, you only need like two or three people. You probably can't even handle that much more without hiring way more. So it's like at that point, like organic will get it done, especially YouTube, which is like the best form of getting people like that.
So a really good example that I like to reference in these types of conversations is a friend of mine named Dustin. He runs his offer is called the Podcast Profits Accelerator, and I participated in it. It was one of the best coaching programs I've ever been a part of. It's $10,000 and it's a 12-week accelerator where they teach you basically partnership marketing and how to guest on podcasts, right? But he's got that offer, which is a 10K offer, and then it upsells into a mastermind, which is 1,000 a month. Those two offers, he's doing, I think he said he did like 1.1 top line last year and netted about 700K. And this is a guy who only posts on LinkedIn organic and will guest on other people's podcasts. No Instagram, no YouTube, no Twitter, no. And his audience is small. Like if you go to look at his profile, I think we have like the same amount of followers. I think he has less than me, but it's quality, right? It's all quality. And so, yeah, again, you don't need what I'm starting to learn and maturing in my like content creation and audience building efforts is like follower count is such a vanity metric. It means nothing. I've been so guilty of just like, oh, we're getting more views. Great. We should be making more money. Oh, wait, we're not. Right. When in reality, this guy who's got, 6,000 LinkedIn followers is pulling in 700 grand a year because people that follow him are actually engaged and it's a true audience. It's not just like a crowd of people. Right.
Yep. You got it, John.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I kind of want to know like your almost decision making process. Like, so you get to Amazon and then you're like, all right, I'm kind of bored with this. I mean, I guess like AI kind of popped up and you're into that, but like you almost do like a pros and cons list. Like this next business, I do not want this. I do not want
Mm-hmm.
that. This is what I don't like about this. This is what I'm looking to do. Like, kind of go through that a little bit because I don't think a lot of people kind of think that through. They just go to the next step.
So it's funny. I actually have a note in my phone of like, I think it's in my phone of every, I was like, all right, whatever business I do next, it's got to meet at least most of these criteria. And so off the top of my head, one of them was not capital intensive, right? No physical products. Those were like the two that like right off the bat, I'm like, been there, done that. Not doing that again. Third was no low skilled labor, right? So nothing where I'd have to have like a warehouse or, I mean, even like even low cost VAs. Like I don't really want to have to deal with cheaper VAs anymore. I don't want to deal with low skilled labor. I'd rather at this point be employing a $200,000 a year developer who's like the smartest guy I've ever met in my life that can do like very high level work, right? I'd rather get to that point than I've had the $5 an hour VAs and they're great for what they're great for, but that's such a small number of things at this point. And then I think the fourth was got to be a recurring revenue component in some capacity. So, I mean, personally, I'm not interested in just selling like one off. Like, yeah, okay, a 17K go high level build is great. But what I would have rather done is sold it for, 8K down and then 1,000 a month in perpetuity, right? Because it's something that's going to be making him money. So if it's making you money every month, why would you stop paying for it? Especially when your average ticket is 17K, right? So I'm starting to think of like, okay, if we continue going down this path, how do we create recurring revenue? And then I think that those were like the main ones, right? Oh, actually, sorry. The other one was really high gross margins, right? So that would have to be something like software, which I'm not really interested in right now, or some sort of high ticket service where you don't have to have a big team to fulfill it, right? Like we can sell a 17K that build that I sold for 17K. I already have the guy who's going to build it, and he's probably going to charge me like $4,000, and it's going to cost a couple hours of my time to babysit him, babysit the client, and then your gross margin on that is, I don't know, probably 70%, something like that, 60-70%.
Yeah.
So
Hard to lose
that's
money.
yeah, definitely.
And when you're in that situation too, if somebody doesn't like what you do and they're like pressing you for a refund or a chargeback, it's like, okay, well, it doesn't really matter if I lose all that money. I don't lose as much money as, being in a physical business like that.
Right. Because it's not like, oh, shoot, now I've got to take the product back and now it's used. And so now I've got to sell it for 40 cents on the dollar. And oh, I don't have an invoice, right? It's just like, yeah, it's a service. And of course, the goal is to not have many of those issues, but they'll happen for sure.
Yeah, man, I feel like this pod's the reactions are gonna be very inspired, or they're just gonna be like, yeah, these guys suck. That's why they quit. It's like the whole reaction of the pod is gonna be people being like, man, this has inspired me to do something on my own, or just like, yeah, I'm not even listening to those guys.
Well, the funny thing is it will inspire.
If you could just take 2 seconds and subscribe to this YouTube channel, we would greatly appreciate it. We're trying to get to 5K subscribers by the end of the year, and the more subscribers we have, the better guests we can get for you. So you literally just take 2 seconds right now, hit subscribe. It will also let you know when new episodes go live and everything we're up to. Thank you so much.
Hire people who are winners, and it will piss off people who are losers. But the even funnier part is it'll inspire a lot of winners who are selling on Amazon who are like, oh, okay, I know what not to do, and I'm just going to go harder in what I am doing, which is, what's right. And there's so many people who I talked to in the last week who are like, and mainly from Wholesale Network, who they're like doubling down after my message, right? Because they want to do things the right way. They still think it's a good opportunity vehicle for them. And they're like, great, we're going to avoid all the pitfalls that you talked about, and we're going to make sure we're, tightening up the ship and just doing things the right way, which I'd say, great, keep doing it.
Yeah. Man, the Amazon space, I guess I don't want to get too far back to the Amazon, but how have you seen it change since you like came onto the scene of stuff? Because you really haven't done it for that long, right? I feel like by the time I was like quitting by almost the time that you were getting like really big in the Amazon Twitter and spaces like that.
Yeah, so I think I tweeted for the first time January of 23. So 2, 3, yeah, like coming up on 3 years, something like that, as far as making content. But I mean, as far as how it's changed, yeah, it's changed a bunch. I mean, you've got, I will never say it's saturated, because I genuinely think nothing's truly saturated if you're good enough. But there's no mistake, there's a lot more people selling on Amazon and there's more competition. And so from that perspective, it's gotten a lot harder. Amazon as a platform has gotten a lot more predatory towards sellers, which again, I think has made it very difficult and has obviously scared a lot of people away. But at the same time, I think it's gotten better for the people who are serious. So if you're a professional, right, and you treat this like a business, I think there's more opportunity than ever. Again, if this is really what you want to do and you understand the risks. So, it's changed for the good in some ways and it's changed for the bad in a lot of ways too.
Yeah. I mean, kind of like the general what you hear from other people. How much more bullish were people in general, or how much positive were they than like it is now? Because I just like kind of mute everybody on Amazon Twitter. Like I had you muted before somebody said it because I was like, he tweets by Amazon. I'm not looking at it. Like I
Yeah,
did
I
it on
don't blame
purpose.
you.
I didn't want to see it. But now I
Yeah,
muted you now because I'm like, if we talk about stuff that I actually want to read about, So
yeah.
that's like, I already was out of it, but I just, the general vibe of like what people say.
Yeah, the general perception, I mean, it sounds bad to say, but it's like the guys that sell courses and coaching are naturally bullish and at least outwardly facing bullish. And I think the general sentiment, the public sentiment is that it's gone downhill and it's gotten a lot harder. But I think behind closed doors, it's probably 50-50. I mean, this is a business where 90% of people don't last 6 months. So I think there's a smaller number of people who are bearish on it because those people have already washed out, right? The only
Yeah.
people who are bearish on it are the ones who have been bearish on it for 5 years, but they keep doing it. You know what I mean? Like they're the guys in the Facebook group who always complain, but like somehow they're still selling. It's like, well, why don't you just quit then if you hate it, or like if you're, if you think it's that bad? But of course, the people with a motive, which is not necessarily a bad thing, it's just that's capitalism, are going to be more outwardly optimistic. And you can't really fault them for being that way as long as they're transparent about the downsides as well.
Yeah. What about your
Yeah.
views and like how you saw? Sorry, John. This is my last thing. I'll let you.
No,
What about your views across platforms? So like, this is one thing that I noticed that there's definitely a saturation of Amazon content creators. Like, there's way more than like when I first started doing it. Did you see like your views, likes, things like that on across all platforms, like slowly decrease or slowly increase because your skill increased? Like, how did that all work? Like, did you see an effect over the years?
Yeah, definitely. So, and it's platform specific, but I will say like on Twitter I remember like around the holidays of 2023, probably through the through the like middle of 2024, it's like you mention the word Amazon on Twitter with like a somewhat decent hook and you're getting like 100 likes. Because that was a period where I wrote a thread every day for like 400 plus days straight. And I swear to God, if the thread got less than 100 likes, it was like a bomb. Which now, if you write a thread about selling on Amazon that gets 100 likes, it would probably be like the best fucking thread of all time. Like that just wouldn't happen. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't happen anymore. So I'd say like Amazon Twitter pretty much just, I wouldn't say died because there's still people talking about it, but like it's just 5% of what it was at its peak now. And it started, I think, headed that way probably early 2024, or not, probably like late 2024, I'd say. And then, YouTube, my views have been going down because I've been quite honestly just half-assing my content there. I've just been pulling out segments from my longer course videos and just putting them on YouTube. So people have already seen them. So they're not going to get, and like they get less views. So I think a lot of it is just effort too. Like if you're good, you're going to rise to the top and you're going to keep growing really no matter what industry you're in. But like if we're in a niche that, again, I think we can all honestly admit the interest level is waning in as opposed to growing. Yeah, your numbers are going to probably be trending downwards, all time, even if maybe you're trending upwards at different like individual points in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally understand that too. Like, I feel like you keep seeing like all these people are just like, oh, like I asked how the month was, and no one said anything. It's like no one cares anymore. Like, why do you care? Like,
Right.
and a lot of people like I've never really been big on Twitter or into Twitter. What did you like about Amazon Twitter? You see this all over Twitter. Like, bring back Amazon Twitter. Bring back Amazon Twitter. Like how I remembered it is people like posting leads that tanked, where everyone
Yeah.
just shit on each other. Like, I don't understand what like they want brought back.
Yeah.
Like, it was just drama, controversy, and like shit you bought at the Kohl sale that is now out there because someone said DM me Nike
For
and
the
I'm going to
link,
send you the
right?
sweatpants. Like, I
It's a
don't
fun one.
understand. Or maybe I didn't understand. Maybe I didn't experience the positives of Twitter. But curious to see what you have to say about that.
Yeah. So there were the negatives that you mentioned, but so when I started, right, or when I started making content, January of 23, I started because I was a guest on Buy Box Bandits with Miles and Garrett. And what I told them at the time, I was like, yeah, I'm about to start getting really active on LinkedIn. Like, I'm going to start posting a lot on LinkedIn. And Miles was like, dude, LinkedIn's for boomers. You got to get on Twitter. Like, there's so many Amazon sellers on Twitter. The community there is huge. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out. So I like made a Twitter, I think like a couple weeks prior, but I had 0 followers, 0 following, 0 tweets. And when I looked at Miles' timeline and just kind of like looked around, like people talking about Amazon, there were so many people, not like 20, 30, but like 50, 60, 70, 100 people actively, not even just making content, but just like tweeting and like talking about selling on Amazon. And at the time, to me, I'm like, this is what I've been looking for. Like, I have no Amazon network at all. Like, I just want to meet other people in the business. And there was so much of that. There was people, tons of people just documenting their journey as brand new sellers. There were guys who were experienced. There were guys, writing threads. Like, it was just a really vibrant community of people who, 90% of people were cool and were chill and were networking and helping each other. And then you've got the 10% who were just pieces of shit. But that's going to be anywhere, right? So it was just like a cool place to meet other people that were doing what you were doing.
I was the 10%. I was about to, you know what's the worst part about Twitter? And like, it's probably way worse now considering engagement's down. I would just tweet value like all the time, and then it would get decent amount of likes. And then I would just expose something or just make fun of somebody, and then it would get like a ton of likes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I guess I got to keep doing that. I just got 800 followers from that tweet. It just rewarded such negative behavior. But I'm kind of like that anyways. I like to just kind of poke fun at people. It's never like that serious. Like, I'll meet somebody after talking shit to them and be like, dude, it's fine. Like,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
fine.
I mean, it's one of those platforms where, because I made this mistake at first of like, I was just pure value. Like, again, my timing, I think, and not that this was on purpose, but like my timing was just perfect. I just like started tweeting at a time when selling on Amazon, like the interest was kind of at its peak. And there wasn't really anybody just sharing a lot of like really good wholesale knowledge. So it got to the point where I was all value, like, no personality, just like, hey, do this, do that, 100% value. And when my numbers started going down, I'm like, wait, if you're just posting value, like people are just going to like move on to the next person offering more value. Like they have no emotional bond to like you as a person. So I'm like, wait, I've got to actually infuse some of my content with like my personality and, not just be 100% value 100% of the time. So I think when I started doing that, I didn't necessarily get more followers, but I noticed people were either like, oh, I really like this guy or I hate this guy. And I feel like that's where you want to be. Like you don't want to be in the middle. Like you don't want people to be indifferent.
Yeah. That's a Grant thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Yeah, he told me that. I got on a consulting call with him one time. And he's like, "You gotta do that." I'm like, "Dude, I think I already do that, man." And he was like, "Yeah, you do."
He's like, do more.
But he gave me that. Yeah, he was like, "You really gotta like be polarizing," which is hard because you just get a lot of hate. And, like the love's not great either. You're not supposed to get so much love that like is
no, it's got to be. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it should be like 80-20, like anything, like 80% positive, 20% negative. But I will say there was a time. When was this? Maybe around. I think it was around AMZ United last year, maybe the year before. But like, there was a time on Twitter where super active, but there was a couple of anonymous accounts that thought that they were like exposing people, but whatever. They were just like talking shit, and so at one point, I think it was like a whole month. I'm like, dude, I can't open up Twitter. Like for my mental health, I'm just getting attacked by everybody. And I never responded once, like never acknowledged it because it was just like made up shit. So I'm like, I can't acknowledge this, but I also don't want to just sit there and read it. Right.
Yeah.
So I just, you just have to like, you go through stretches where I'm like, all right, I'm just not going to look at social media for the next like 30 days or however long.
That was a crazy time for sure.
Yeah.
Because people would just like drop someone's storefront. They'd be like, oh, look at this asshole storefront. Or like, I forgot what the Instagram account was that was like doing it, but all they did was like expose. I remember one lady like going nuts in her story saying that like she's gonna like sue them and like all this stuff. I was like, you gotta stop watching this shit and just like go on about your business.
Yeah. Well, the funniest one for me too, and so this I don't even remember who it was, but somebody and my storefront's not a secret, right? Like everybody knows what it is. At least they did after a certain point. So this guy goes into my storefront and he like screenshots it and writes this long post of like, oh, Corey claims to be this big seller, but he's only got like 16 active ASINs, which was true at the time, but my revenue at the time was like 300K a month. Like for some reason it doesn't register that like one ASIN, if it's the right ASIN, you can do 100K a month on one ASIN, right? And my margins at the time were like the best they've ever been. So here I am, and like, it got like 50,000 views. I had all these comments like, oh, what a piece of shit. He's a fraud, all this stuff. And then you've got like a very small handful of the homies who are commenting. They're like, 300K a month revenue off 16 ASINs. Like, isn't that good? Like, are we like, how this is totally backwards? Like, how is this something that should be hated on? Right. So, and again, it's like, you don't respond to that. Like, you just got to let that pass. But I'm just like, some people are so dumb. It's like not even worth trying to, I'm not even going to try to like explain math to these people.
How do you deal with like the hate like that? It seems like it kind of just flows off your back, but
I mean,
you ever get like a little upset about it or whatever?
Yeah, totally. Everybody does. I mean, anybody that says they don't is a liar. Like that's just human nature. But it's one of those things where like you just have to ignore it. Like you can't respond. I mean, that's the only way they fuck off is you just stop. You ignore them long enough and they go away.
Dude, I'll remember this is such. I've probably shown this on the pod a few times, but I think you'll think this is funny. But when I released my thing like you're doing, the like the tell-all type thing, this guy in the comments, and I had been on a sales call with this guy for my program, my coaching program, like months before, and he didn't want to do it or whatever, but he was like a big fan of me. He comments and he's like, well, of course he's quitting. He's going to make $100,000 off you guys and then leave. And then, and I remember replying to it and I was like, dude, this is like, he's hating, obviously.
Right.
But the funny part is the fact that he thinks I'm going to make $100,000 is like the biggest belief in me. I didn't think I was going to make $100,000. So I'm like, dude, my biggest hater here is like really my biggest believer.
Yeah.
And then he didn't reply after that. But I'm like, it's funny how a lot of those guys, they'll hate like that. But really the way they hate is just like, well, I know he's going to crush it. So I'm just pissed.
It's like a veiled compliment.
Actually, yeah, it's every time it's almost like that, unless they're, trying to expose you. But even in your case, it's like, see, he only has 16 aces. He can't be doing much, but like, it's kind of a compliment because it's like,
right,
he's doing 300K a month with 16 aces. They just don't really know they're complimenting you like they think they are.
It's also one of those things too, where like, I do subscribe to the quote, no such thing as bad publicity. Like obviously to an extent, like if you're getting publicity for like beating your wife or something crazy, like obviously that's not good. Yeah. But like for what we're doing, right? As long as you're not being shady and as long as you're not like ripping people off, then there really is no such thing as bad publicity. So a lot of times that's what I tell myself too. I'm like, okay, yeah, this guy's giving me a hard time, but like in reality, it's it's literally a compliment when you think about it. And two, it got 55,000 views. So like, that's actually very good for me, so I just kind of think about it that way.
And I also think you have to think of it the flip side too, is like most people are like, I'm not going to say dumb, but like if like Drew tweeted like Corey's a piece of shit. And then I was like, I wonder why. And then I like go to your YouTube. I was like, I don't get it. I think Drew's the idiot. Like kind of thing. Like unless there's something like very, very blatant that like I could either be like, oh yeah, Drew is right about this or is not. I'd be like, I don't know. He seems to tweet about Amazon. Like I don't really see like the issue here.
Yeah.
So it could be good for you. Like 55,000 views headed your way. Like not all of them would be like, yeah, he's a piece of shit. They'll be like, maybe this guy's an idiot. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. It's like, depending on, unless there's like, I've seen on Twitter actually a couple of times recently, I think some big info guys got outed as like not paying, for not paying their sales team or just actually being pieces of shit. So it's like, all right, yeah, like that's not good. But when if just depending on what it is that you did, quote unquote, sometimes it's actually a positive.
Yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way. I replied to this guy on Twitter one time, like making fun of him because he was selling his Discord group and he he was shipping like primes or something, and he was like
Mhm.
breaking down how much money he made, and I was like, this guy's clearly lying. It cost this much money to ship these primes. I did this big breakdown on it, and it got a ton of views. And I did that a lot, like kind of that was one
Calling
of the things
people
that grew
out.
my following. But I was like, I'm going to look at this guy because he's got like 1,800 followers. So I'm going to see what happens that I've interacted and done this. I wake up the next day or 2 days later, and he's got like 60 more followers. And he
Right.
didn't lose any. He gained 60. And I'm like, well, he has a Discord that's $25. Like most people are going to convert because it's $25. I'm like, I might have
Right.
just made that guy $1,000 a month just
Yeah.
calling him out. Like, how stupid am I? I didn't make anything off that, but he
Yeah.
made like $1,000 a month, and it's like, yeah, the haters they might think they're doing good, but like a lot of people are going to convert to you because not everybody's going to think the same way. They don't
Right.
understand that.
And the people that dislike you from like one post or one thing they see when they clearly didn't do their homework or like haven't seen you anywhere else, like those people probably weren't going to like you anyway, so who cares?
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's a really big takeaway from the whole Amazon Twitter. Like when you were talking before about like all those haters and the people on Instagram, it's like shit just doesn't work. Like
Right.
for that small time frame, it seemed like it was working. Like, oh, they're calling out all the coaches who aren't really selling, and like this is such a good thing, and they're doing such a service, and like it just doesn't work because like there's just not enough content. Like most of the time, those coaches are already so big, like you're not taking them down. They already have too many people that are like whatever, and then like most of the time, I'm just like, who cares? Like
Right.
good for them. Like they're making way more money coaching. Like you're jealous that you're not coaching. I think one of those biggest guys who did that ended up launching a Discord. Be like, oh, this
Oh
will
yeah.
be different versus
Right.
blah blah. One of
That's
the
so
biggest
funny. I
haters who
remember
called
that too.
everyone a piece of shit. And it's just like, but mine, it's different. I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, you are the biggest piece of shit.
Which is like arguably he's either like the smartest marketer or like the dumbest person, and I would think he's probably the dumbest person, but like you got to respect the balls either way.
Yeah, I remember that too. It is a good marketing tactic. Like, I mean, that's kind of how a lot of people do. I mean, I was a little bit like that too. You're anti-guru and then you like become a guru. But you realize that like if you're not just a pussy, like you should be able to do it the right way, right? Isn't that
Right.
like if you're a hater and you like don't care to put yourself out there and like give value, you can do both and maybe you can do it the right way. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm at least gonna try that. Because a lot of
Yeah.
these guys, the real reason is like, well, they can never make it work. You know how hard it is to like convince people to buy expensive shit from you? Like it's not easy. And they just
Right.
couldn't do that. So it's easier just to sideline.
Yep.
I thought I was wanting to mention this earlier. I think the biggest metric of like the Amazon vibes, if somebody could somehow compile this data, is how many views Miles has had across all of his social medias, like month over month. Because
Yeah.
like he is like a megaphone of Amazon.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
I wonder if his views go. I'm sure he doesn't even care at all, so he probably don't even look at it. But up and down, I wonder how his have been over the years. Because every time I see him, he's getting a lot of likes no matter what. But he's also so big that he's kind of bigger than Amazon. Like in my opinion, he's a bit next level there.
Well, and what I love about Miles too is that he's been so consistently trumpeting the same message for so long. Like it's been what you see, every day from him, every day for 4 years, which has gotten him to where he is. And also too, it's like I mean, I obviously am good friends with Miles, but I like the way he does things because the way he teaches online arbitrage, it's so approachable. Like really, when people say I want to get started on Amazon, I send them to him because I know that the way he's doing it and the way he's teaching it, like you're very unlikely to get shut down doing it that way. You're putting very little capital at risk. And, if you were to work with him, like he holds your hand. So again, I think he's not one of the few, because there's plenty of people doing it and like teaching it the right way. But like, I've always really liked the way that he goes about it. Cause again, he's also helped so many people. Like it's not like you can't make up that many, like he's got so many testimonials. It's like, all right, it's gotta be legit.
Yeah. And to go that long, like you
can't go that long in anything. Yeah, you can't go that long in anything and not be good at what you do, or at least not fulfilling your promise. And yeah, he's absolutely done that.
He's a machine. I remember messaging him a while ago. He was getting a bunch of hate, and I was like, dude, maybe it's about time to like look at this, dude. Like
He's probably like,
I know
nope.
that a lot of these info guys just crash and burn. I was like, I don't know. I just want the best for you. I want to make sure, like, because he's already made such a big bag, but at some point, it's just like, he's a machine. He's just like every single day, I'm going to do the same thing live every day. It's inspiring. I don't know how he does it, but he's a machine.
He's the hardest worker I've ever met, like hands down, which I really, really respect. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We're about an hour. What you got anything else to talk about? I know you got a few more minutes left here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else major. I mean, I enjoyed coming on just to kind of chat through things with you guys. Always enjoy you guys having me on. So, one thing I would say, right, is if you don't mind me shamelessly plugging my podcast, the Corey
Sure.
Ganim Show. So I'm, for I guess 130 or so weeks now, I've had a new episode every Wednesday. Up until this point, it's been interviews with people who sell on Amazon. It started out as the Amazon Wholesale Podcast, but I'm going to be shifting the format of that podcast to talk more about AI and AI related topics and just have on bigger, more diverse guests. Like today, I had Nick Huber on, who is probably, I mean, well, definitely the biggest guest I've had on to date. So yeah, I would encourage people to check that out. Just check out the Corey Ganim Show anywhere you get your podcasts.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Anything else, John?
No, I think that's it. Like, subscribe. Where do you want people to follow you, Corey?
Really, I mean, podcast, right? I'd point in there. I'd say go subscribe to the podcast because I put a lot of time and effort into that, and I do think I've gotten a lot better at interviewing, and that's not going to stop anytime soon.
Sweet. Go follow him on his podcast. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Peace.
Peace out.